welcome back to another episode of Talk That Crap. I'm joined here with a good guest, good friend of mine, Mr. Sigma Uno. We appreciate you being here today with us, brother. I really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
that.
me. Appreciate it.
And we're gonna have a good conversation today. We're gonna have a good conversation today. And so, Sigma Uno, let them know a little bit about yourself.
Well, have been on this spiritual journey for a little over 17, a little over 17 years. I also am a therapist. I support youth and young adults through peer support and intentional peer support. I just love spirituality. I love the pretty much every part about it. Specifically astral travel, the alignment of chakras, continual alignment of chakras. And that's pretty much it for now.
Okay. So you just been into the arts for a long time now.
Yeah, definitely.
So with you being in the arts for a long time, it goes into our first part of the conversation. We're talking about spiritual shifts. Now, question I have is, in your spiritual shift, how did or how much did your life change when it came to you in spiritual shifts?
Wow. I want to say it was a total 360. Initially, of course, I was on the religious thing for a while, and truth of the matter is, I knew we were on a different path growing up. My mom didn't; she followed it as a child, but later on in life, it changed for her. But in order to understand what the whole idea of religion was, I kind of dumbed myself down to understand it, and biggest mistake in my life. So yeah, when I did finally get to the place where I couldn't deal with it anymore, and just the people and the message that they projected, I had to bow out. I wasn't getting anything from it. Again, most of the knowledge I had with regards to the Bible or any understanding of spirituality or religion came from my mom initially. So I knew quite a bit about the Bible. So I was kicked out of maybe 3 or 4 churches before I decided to dumb down because we were raised that if you're quoting the scripture and you're believing that God is the author of this, then you should quote it correctly. And a lot of churches I went to, they weren't doing that. They were playing to the music. They were playing to the sound of people clapping their hands and making everyone feel jovial. So that didn't set well with me. And that's why I got kicked out of 3, literally 3 churches. And that was when I was in California. Right. Yeah. But yeah.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, spiritual shifts, as you just alluded to, it changed everything in my life. Like nothing stayed the same. I mean, people were always there, but the principles that I learned to live by, the things that I began to understand and have reverence for, things that understood that in my culture, like that was a part of me that I didn't even realize. It's something to see something in your culture, but you have no understanding and no connection to it because you wasn't raised in it.
Exactly.
And then learning and finding out what those things truly mean.
Man.
It changes everything.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Because there's a depth to who we are that the published text only scratches the surface of. and they didn't get everything right, or intentionally didn't get everything right because of what their intended purpose of the published text was. But the general idea and understanding of the deep sea scrolls, oh man, the Inky and the Enlil, all the stuff that they left out is what eventually we found out anyway, because that's what's in our DNA. So once you stumble onto what you know the truth is, you can't turn back. You can't, because it's fulfilling. It's completely fulfilling. Yeah, definitely. And there's more of a love in that than the browbeating and the fear tactics that the religion induces, and the idea that we carried that torch from not really knowing exactly how to read and understand it to now we do know how to read, and that's all we delve into. But this new age of young people and young adults, man, they're not going for it. They're not. They want real answers, and they really have. In order for them to understand, they want to be taught. Literally, want to be taught, and to fully understand. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I totally agree, totally 100%. The young folks, not only are they not going for it, they're looking for it.
Exactly. Exactly.
They know something is odd, something is off. They
Right.
don't feel
Right.
right. They just like, what do I do? So I agree with you 110% now.
Yeah.
Talking to young folks now, they understand things at 19 and 20.
There you go.
19 and 20, I was still dumb and
Exactly.
fool, like a total fool.
Right.
19 and 20. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I wasn't reading no books. There was no such thing as meditation and
No, none of
fasting,
that.
and there was none of those things happening.
No.
19, 20,
No.
just a dumb fool. So yeah,
Yeah,
spiritual shifts are serious.
they are definitely serious, man.
Serious.
I
But let me ask you this.
mhm.
In those spiritual shifts, how did it affect your relationship through those years?
Whew, man. I lost brothers and sisters. I lost people that say they was my friends. I lost I lost aunties and
Yeah.
uncles. I lost a whole bunch of folks. They just looked at me like I had just jumped off the side of a side of a bridge, man. It was, and when you start talking about stuff that heals people, some people ain't ready for it. So when you talk
Right.
about meditation, all the rest of the stuff, they went directly to that's black magic. What? How is meditating when that in all actuality the book says pray and meditate on the word, right? But they missed that part because they wasn't reading. They was only listening to the pastor. So it's those things, those binding ties. But man, yeah, I was walking alone for a long time. I just recently, one of my brothers was called me up and was like, man, I should have been listening to you a long time ago. And I was like, why? What's going on? And he was, man, they literally, I got 6 brothers. 4 of them got to the point where they were like, we're gonna call you to hang out with you, but we're gonna tell you how we feel. And they just, man, they lit into me, man. You trying to make everybody like you, and not everybody's like you. I'm like, no, that's not the thing, bro. There's a different way. That's all I'm trying to say. But they will, man, to not to dive into that pain, because it's painful to realize I've been doing the wrong thing. It was painful to me. My last encounter with one of the clergymen that I encountered, man, it nearly broke me in half. But during my time of breaking, it was like, wait a minute, oh, you knew before, you knew what was going on before all of this happened. Why are you acting like you didn't know? So I had to really literally shake myself and be like, look, you knew better than this. Why are you letting this break you like this? And so to introduce something different, it can't be. It couldn't. I realized from my family, it couldn't have been me. It couldn't have came from me. They have to hear from 5 or 6 different people in order to come back to me and say, "Hey, yeah, this is what it is." And that's what my brother did. He's like, "Man, I was just talking to my friend, and he was real heavy into the gang life and all the rest of the stuff. And he was like, "Man, I just talked to so and so, man, and we talking about life, and there's a lot of things that you were saying was true back in the day, man. I'm sorry for how I treated." I was like, "Man, it's everybody comes to light in their own way in their own time,
Right.
and I should have tried to push it as hard as I did." But when you find something, when something lights the fire in you, you want to share it with other people, and that's what happened. I found myself talking to strangers in more depth than I did my family members and people that were close to me. Otherwise, everybody had written me off. Oh, he ain't gonna make it. Somebody gonna get hit by a bus.
He crazy.
Right,
He crazy.
exactly. He crazy.
He out here talking to all these different gods and
exactly.
He done lost his mind.
Exactly.
Teaching his children devil worshiping. I don't know what they're doing. They got altars in their homes.
Right, exactly.
What are they doing?
But see, and the funny thing about it, man, all of that is written in that book that they have not read for themselves.
I know.
It's all there. Leviticus, Numbers, all of the stuff that happened, the Levitical priesthood, all that stuff is in its actual form, but it was written in so many different fragments that they couldn't put it together themselves if they were reading.
But you have,
yeah.
And the thing about it is, you have to go the occult way to put it together.
Exactly.
If you don't understand the occult principles and understand what's occult, is that thing they left out, and it made you raise yourself to a higher consciousness. And I remember Phil Valentine said that's it. Long time ago.
Phil Valentine. Yep.
They say it's coded.
Right.
So you're gonna have to raise yourself to a certain level of consciousness to understand.
Right.
I always knew that a shift was always going to take me into a higher state of consciousness, a better of understanding, what is going on in my life, how it's been happening. Now, along with those relations, because relationship and spiritual shifts for me, it was wild. Because it was when I was running the street and I was doing all those things, nobody ever told me to calm down.
Right.
When I started walking a particular path, and I began to express myself in a particular way, and I'm not going to say the gentleman's name, but I had a gentleman that pulled me to the side and said, "You need to calm down." I said, "What?
Now I need to calm down?"
I said, "What do you mean?" He said, you just seem like you just voicing yourself like you angry." I said, "Wait a minute. Let me get
now I'm angry.
When I was in them streets and wilding out and fighting and getting all kind of trouble, you ain't never pulled me to the side. Tell you why. But here I get into a spiritual shift, able to understand who I am and express myself in a certain particular.
Right.
Now that's offensive.
Exactly. And it's funny because you could be in a burning car going off the bridge, and they there with you screaming and yelling, "This is loud," and it's, you're right. It's funny that how they do that. It's like, is it the truth that harsh to where it's burning you this bad to where you feel like I'm doing too much? And again, it's these same people that come back later on and be like, "Hey, look, man, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have said that to you, or I should have looked a little deeper. I should have listened to what you said." Again, I've been there. I get it. I get it.
And it's the losing of people in the spiritual shift really has been hindsight 2020. Really been really healing aspect.
Yeah,
because sometimes you don't really understand the people that when you raise yourself to a particular consciousness and particular frequency, that they won't be able to vibe on that particular frequency. It's going to it's going to offset the friendship, relationship, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Because I've been in relationships as well that in the past, when I kept growing, they didn't grow with me,
They
and I
didn't grow with
always
you.
knew that either we're going to
Exactly.
grow together or we're going to grow apart.
Right. Yeah.
So even in my relationship, I always understood that even in the beginning, we can grow together and let that harmony be a very unique thing that we all
Right.
experience, or it
Right.
could be something that we grow into. Hey, you know what? We just need to part ways.
That's right.
It's all
Right.
good.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
And it's funny
So,
because the very one that I think we disappeared from each other for a long period of time, and we were at one point we were on the same what we called we were saying on the same spiritual level with regards to religion, but the whole time she was fully conscious of
mm,
everything that I've already learned.
mm,
She already knew what I learned, and I was like, "Wait a minute, you ain't running away." I'm saying this loud because I'm thinking, okay, this is gonna run her off. Oh no,
mm,
it didn't run her off. It's something that she already knew, but she knew how to shroud it well enough, or she understood people well enough to know I can't tell everybody this. It's gonna break them in half.
yes.
And later on, I came to that full understanding. Yeah, I can't tell everybody this. It's going to break somebody in half when I tell them, unless they come to me and say, "Hey, this is what's going on. I've seen this. I've seen that. I experienced this. How do I walk through this?" And 9 times out of 10, it was young people. They wanted the raw. They wanted the raw,
Yeah,
unadulterated
yeah,
truth. And we don't care
yeah,
how it makes you feel, or just tell me what the truth is. I need to know. And it was young people that wanted that, but the older ones, it was like some of them are not willing to make the change because they've been stuck in their ways for so long,
yeah,
or they believe so strongly that this is what my reality is. And 9 times out of 10, it's passed them by multiple times, and they just couldn't grasp the concept. That's why I was kind of shocked when my brother came back and was like, "Hey," I'm like, "Okay, bro, you in your 40s now," and maybe that's his moment of awakening. But for the most part, them people, she knew before I did, and she knew she did not
Well,
put it
look,
out there.
that's what that woman that got that power, a queen that got that power. That's what she does.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
what she does. That's who she is. You know.
That's it. 100%.
So yeah, yeah.
100%.
That's all love right there,
That's
all the
it. That's
time.
definitely.
And so going with that as
Mhm.
well when we're talking relationship and things that she knew.
Right.
So when you first met her in that particular time in that shift, did you know right then and there it was her because she didn't run?
And see, there was a situation that happened, and religious played in my mind so heavy that I passed her by. But
Ooh,
I knew she knew more. I knew she knew more because we had this conversation one evening, and the way she talked, I understood exactly what she was saying.
mm,
But at the time, religious honesty was so heavy in my mind that I had to. It's like, oh my God, I'm doing wrong, and I'm
right,
stepping on
right,
somebody's toes. I was dead. I was wronger than two left shoes because the whole situation was she was in the midst of the devil himself, and I was the person that's
right.
supposed to walk her out. You see what I'm saying? So it when it did finally come back around, it was like, okay, man, I'm sorry. I apologize because I was looking at things from the lens of religious eyes. And the whole idea was this whole browbeating that you if you involve yourself with this and you cross this up and the hell become your home, you're gonna wake up and gnash the teeth. Was it a wailing the gnashing of teeth? I was, and those are the thoughts going through my head, and I'm like, if I mess with this, I'm putting myself in hell's fire. But in all actuality, later on, it was like, wait a minute, it was all ordained, preordained. It was
Mm,
supposed to happen. We knew each other from school, from middle
right.
school on up, and I was like, how? How later on, I'm thinking how much time I missed. You see what I'm saying? She was on the
But you did.
same,
At least you
and
had
she's
that
on,
experience.
yep, and she's always been on that same level. Always been on that same level. And I'm like,
Mm,
what in the world? What
yeah.
we could have already fast forwarded to where we wanted to be. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of
Right.
the day, some things happen. But at the end of the day, I'm glad it's happened. I'm glad we are where we are. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so it's
So
yeah.
the cycle came back and completed
There
itself.
you go. There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, I think those are for me when I hear moments like that,
Hmm.
and those who are walking a particular path of
Right.
self.
Right.
When I hear it, I always smile because I tell people you just never know what's gonna come down. It could be a couple years down the road. Never know how that thing come back around. You
There you
just
go.
never
That's
know.
it. Right.
Because
Right. Right.
when the spirit shift, it just shift.
There you go. And it's a pure
It shift.
thing. And
Shift.
it's I think it was so it 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 made me nervous at one point because I actually looked for her. And the worst thought of my the thought that was the most fearful thought in my head is was she's with somebody else.
Mm.
And I kind of after a while just let it go. And then she, I think she searched me out and I didn't realize she was searching for me because at one point I was looking for her. She saw my name, reached out, and I was like, "What in the world?" And I told my kids, I was like, "Look, I've known this woman for this long. I messed up before, ain't gonna happen again. Here we are. Nothing's gonna
Here we
prevent
are.
this from happening." Exactly. So
Mm.
it's this is I mean, that's the part of spirituality that I love the most because when you're actually connected with the person that you're actually supposed to be with, it the world moves. Everything
Hmm.
moves in alignment that it was supposed to have been a long time ago, and some and more. Um, and you can relax. It's like, I mean, outside of circumstances and situations, that's a person I can relax with. I'm not, and my eyes aren't for anyone else. Or I'm not looking for nobody else. It's
Nah.
I'm
Right.
I'm cool. Here I am. We can sit down all day and watch TV, or just get in the car and drive and sit in front of. It's just I'm that settled because it's meant.
Mm.
It's spiritually it was meant to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
That's beautiful.
So yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah.
That's one of those stories written in the stars, brother.
There you go. Exactly.
It's written in the stars, brother.
There you go. Earth,
You
Wind,
know
and
what I'm
Fire.
saying? Right, right, right.
Yeah.
And with that, we're gonna take
Mm.
it into higher self.
Yourself. There you go.
So
Wow.
we hear that terminology all the time, higher self.
Mm.
I'm talking to my
Right.
higher self, or I'm
Right.
being with my higher self, or what is the higher self? So could you give us a little breakdown of your understanding of when it comes to higher self?
It's there's the subconscious. There is oh man, I can go down a list of what your brain does, but there is a consciousness that you're led by. Some people ignore it because of because of the imprint that the world has put on you. But if you're in a spiritual state or beginning a spiritual state, you're going to follow this, and your higher mind is in a place where it makes demands, and it you speak into your life for manifestation. You speak into you determine to do something, and all the things come fall into place. You follow the right higher mind, and you're led into something that is profitable or safe. It's you following that first voice that said, "Oh no, don't do that," or "This is where you go," or "Hey, this is where I want you to get up and go today." That's the higher mind. It's telling,
Mm.
it's leading you and guiding you. It doesn't have to come from a speaker box or nobody putting a letter under your door or something in the mail. It's you knowing exactly, or you knowing exactly. I'll explain it like this: protons, neutrons, electrons.
666.
There you go. The negative, positive, and neutral. In order for your higher mind to function properly, you have to be in tune with all of those and allow them to function. When you get to a place to where you're trying to rip one of them out, you've created yourself you created yourself in a position, put yourself in a position of being dysfunctional. So one of those are gone, and only one of those are barely hanging on for life. Otherwise, they eventually will be destroyed. So once those three are working and firing, that atom is firing like it's supposed to, then everything is working correctly. So you don't have to second guess what you're hearing. You have to second guess what you're feeling. You're going exactly. You're you're functioning exactly the way you're supposed to get to where you need to go, or consistently doing things that will better your life and put you in a position where you're always functioning outside of the things that are been impressed upon us. I hope that made sense. But
Oh yeah.
that's uh, that's that's the higher mind. That's your higher self, and no one can tell us better than ourselves if we
There
trust
you
in
go.
our higher
Yeah.
self.
Yeah.
And so this whole idea of and this, I think I said this a while ago. They keep pointing us in directions of where this higher thing is. They point above us, the side of us, sometimes in front of us, on each shoulder. No, it is internally. It's internal. It's who we
Yes.
are. It's who we
Yes.
were born to be. It's how we function. It's exactly how we're supposed to be led, is by the thoughts that come through our mind. And it's funny because working in the mental health, I have conversations with a lot of people that think the second voice is something harmful. And my first question is, what did it tell you to do? Well, it told me to do this and go there. Are you sure that you sure that it's harmful? I don't know. I said, do me a favor, write down everything that this voice is telling you, and when the next time we have a conversation, let's talk about what it's telling you, and we'll go detail for detail. Now there's
Oh yeah.
some that come back and say, hey, I got a harmful message in the middle of all that. Then okay, then we'll talk about what that harmful message was, and whether it was
Yeah.
trying to block you from hearing what that other voice was supposed to be saying. But at 9 times out of 10, it's a leading and a guiding. And
Yeah.
because the world is so sick, then they they give it man, my brain is not working correctly. They give it a diagnosis. They give pills for it, and before you know it, it's shut off. And
Yep.
the pharmaceuticals, I mean, all of this stuff is super harmful for anyone that is in the position that we're in, with regards to us being the greater people that we are here in this earth, who chose to be here and have come to the full understanding that, hey, this is the reason why I'm here, and this is what I'm going to do. The only
Yeah.
thing that sidetracks most of us is what people say, because we're
Right.
hurt by what they say, and maybe I should back off of it because it ain't really right. No, that's your opinion based on what somebody else's opinion was. So, but the higher self, I'm telling you, I've done some stuff and made some mistakes out there in the streets. And when I got in my car and it said hit a left, and I hit a left, and I hit another left, and I hit a right back on the main road, and I see the taillights of a police car. That means that mine was telling me the right thing, because I didn't want to get caught up. It didn't want me to get caught up,
Exactly.
or I just didn't want to get caught up, and I have the right. I
Right.
have the right to speak into my existence, whether that should happen or not, depending on the intent of who we call our enemies. But yeah, that's my understanding of what higher self
Oh yeah. I mean, higher mind
is.
is a symbiotic relationship
Yes,
between the
definitely.
conscious and unconscious.
Yeah,
It's that and excuse me, between your unconsciousness, science, symbology, and consciousness.
there you go.
Because it's the
Exactly.
science symbology of the higher self.
I
The higher
agree.
self don't always speak in words.
Right.
It's it may show you different things based upon your level of consciousness. So it may have to speak to you because that's the only way you can understand. And maybe it have to show you signs and symbols because that's the only way
Right.
you can understand. It depends on what level that you are. That what how that higher self or how you can communicate with quote unquote what they call the higher self. It's just
Right.
the aspects of you as God.
Right.
You know, the one that's all knowing.
There you go.
Always one of
Exactly.
them. So that's all the higher self is. It's a symbiotic relationship,
Yeah.
and most people don't see it as a symbiotic relationship.
Right.
They look towards the higher mind, but they don't include themselves
No.
in the higher mind.
No. Because they don't think they're worthy of that. And a lot of times, and I've had multiple conversations with regard to it. It's it's a worthiness thing, because whoever describes the higher person or the higher being, they're describing it as someone so perfect that they can't see perfection in themselves. In all actuality, we're fighting in a place that's trying to redefine who we are, and that's the problem. If we're trying to put on this coat of definitions that is not really us. So if we took off that coat and was like, "Hey, no, I don't need this jacket. I got my own," then it
Yeah,
fits perfectly. Then I don't
yeah,
have to. It's not a point of worthiness. Is that it's I am that I am. I am this.
yeah.
I am who I am. I'm powerful. I'm whatever you name yourself. That's who you are. Yeah.
My affirmation this week was, "And all that I am now is all that there is."
Oh, that's good. I'm gonna, you're gonna have to shoot that over to me so I can use that.
I got you. That was that was my mantra all
Mhm.
week long. You know,
Wow,
and that was just
that's
always
good.
keeping you right there in the I am.
That's
And
good.
all that
That's
I
good.
am
Hmm.
now is all that there is.
That's it. Yeah, please, but don't forget
I
to shoot
got
that to me.
you know I got you, big
Yeah,
bro. You know I got you
yeah. Singleness,
already.
my wife said, "Put it on a shirt." That
I got
definitely
you.
need to do that.
We gonna go there. We gonna definitely go there.
Definitely,
And so
definitely.
do you find it difficult when you're out and about and dealing with the higher mind and society that we live in? Do you find that to be difficult at times?
I do, because I sit and I take a toll of what's happening around me, and
Okay.
I understand people are people, and I understand the actions of people based on where they are, and instead of I'm the person that when someone's acting out, I sit back and take in consideration of why, and
Right.
that's the type of person I am. But the way this whole systematic thing is uncanny, and it bothers me because I want to see an end to it. You see what I'm saying? I want there to be an end to this, because it's hurting a lot of people. You know, it's hurting. If we how many babies, I know there's a number, the numbers are out there, but I can't remember at this time. But they were saying a certain amount of babies are born per day. Those are babies that are people's. Those are people that are sitting on deck to become adults, and then if they're in this world, and the ones that are already here being hurt in this world, here they are waiting in line to be hurt or damaged along with it. And my thought pattern, my thought pattern is, how do I keep that from happening to them? And that's only on the basis of the idea that I have children, and I want them to I want them to function, be able to function without being so severely damaged that they can't remember who they are. And 9 times out of 10, that's what happens. But yeah, it bothers me. It bothers me.
Mm.
This systematic thing really bothers me. Otherwise, people are people. People are people.
It used to bother me
Mhm.
until I really understood the system and the condition that they
Right.
place into the environment.
Re- Gotcha.
Once I understood the system and what they cultivated inside of our environment and our communities and our neighborhood, it
Right.
was easy. I wasn't angry anymore because I
Right.
understood that most people were doing it, didn't even know.
Exactly.
So
Wow.
you can't.
Right.
It's difficult to hold them to a high level of standard of
It,
understanding self when you're
right.
conditioned and you're cultivated. You grew up in that. You teach that to your
That's
child.
it. That's it. That's it.
So
That's
now
it.
you and the child believes it. So that go generation and generation and generation.
There you
of the
go.
same type of dysfunction.
Right. Right.
So I said to my daughter years ago, I said they glamorize dysfunction as normal.
There you
When you
go.
become normal, you become a dysfunction.
That's it.
You
That's
become something
yeah.
totally different.
That's what they
But when
want you
you
to do.
in the dysfunction, you're doing
Mhm.
everything as being normal.
Right.
And when you step out of that normalcy and you step into self, and you no longer react to those things, you no longer think in those lines of those things, you no longer feel of those things.
Right.
You just observe what's going on around you and how they're using what they're
Right.
using along the attacks.
Right. And
Because we
that's
on
when
constant attack.
right. That's when you're oddball out. Then he's
Mhm.
not acting like everybody else is acting, right? Yeah, you're right. I agree. I agree. I agree.
It used to drive me absolutely bonkers. That's when I
Mhm.
was in my angry phase. When we talk about
Right.
those spiritual shifts, those years,
Yeah,
you go through
yeah.
those years when you when you
Right,
learning so much history, you just mad as
right.
hell.
I'm telling you, yep, I've been there. I've been there. My aunt put me
Yeah,
on that.
you,
My aunt put me on to the
you know,
Gnostics, and if she would have done it differently, I don't think I would have been so. Well, I think I would have been mad, but I think I could have padded it. But she sent me with the Willie Lynch letter,
oh
and
man,
man,
Woo.
I, I had a couple of
I
pistols
was
in the house.
calling house niggas and field niggas out the gate. You a house nigga or a field nigga? What a nigga you is?
Exactly. Exactly.
Not realizing we still both niggas. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
As Jay-Z said, house nigga,
Yeah.
field nigga, we
We
all
all
niggas.
niggas.
Yeah, so that
Right.
tripped me out. But yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So that shook me. And then she sent me some Gnostics. My aunt presented. I thought my aunt was a Christian,
Mm.
in the sense of what I thought other people believed, but she was the complete opposite, and she understood a lot more with regards to spirituality than most. So she sent me Gnostic stuff. She sent me
Woo,
she man, that Gnostic stuff cut me in half. I
man.
was like, wait a minute, this is something else, and it got so descriptive. I was like, what? And then also, what was gosh, the tablets of thought,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
Emerald
yeah, yeah.
tablets. When she sent me that, I had to say, hold on a second. I read it. I read through it the first time, and I couldn't completely um, understand fully.
Mhm.
So I read it the second time, and when I read it, went to read it the third time. I called her. I said, look, we got to read this together because it's saying some stuff that I'm not really that I've not really ever
Hell
heard
yeah.
before. So
Hey, that
when we
Gnostic,
read
no
it,
joke.
then
That
man, it's
Gnostic,
not a
no
joke.
joke.
It's I think it's borderline. It's borderline. What do they call it? Who was the ones that are the anti? I guess the anti. Some borderline
Are we talking
anti.
about like an antithesis, like
Yeah,
an
there you
antichrist or something?
go. Yeah, antichrist.
I don't.
So it's
Well,
borderline
from the
anti.
studies, it's not really that bad.
But see, if you get, I have people telling me not to pick them books up outside the Bible. Don't read it at
Oh
all.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And that's what it is. So when I started reading that, the Enochian Bible, man, I started reading all that stuff. I sat down and I went to one of the clergymen again. I was like, okay, I got some questions I need you to answer for me. So I'm asking questions according to the Enochian Bible, according to the Testament of Solomon, all the rest of these books, and their only answer was, "Well, you ain't supposed to read outside the book." And I said, "Why not? They're presented as characters in the book. So what is the problem? But
Right.
they don't want you to think independently, and that was the whole idea, and that's
Of
what I
course.
understood. Yeah, but yeah, my family, she didn't try to teach anyone in my family other than me, because she said she knew I was ready for it, and when if it was time,
Mm.
I can pass it on to anyone else, pass it on to someone else. Otherwise, they were thinking that she had lost her mind if she would have put it out to them, which I agree because it happened to me. It happened to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Narcissism had a great influence in my life when it came to going through those spiritual shifts
yeah,
and understanding the higher self and higher mind.
Right.
You know,
There you go.
it played a nice little key when I got into those mysteries. And
Yeah.
between that and getting into the Hermetic science, I mean, ooh, man,
The hermetic.
everything else just kind of took care of itself.
The
So
hermeneutic. There you go.
yeah.
Been with that one,
So that's
definitely.
where the question,
Mhm.
when we're talking about some of the things that we went through and learned in
Mhm.
order for us to understand how to communicate and to be one with the higher mind. Do
Mhm.
you think as a society, because everybody wasn't given this information,
Right.
you
Right.
had to
Right.
be you had to be thought of worthy for the information,
That's right.
or you
That's
had to
right.
go through different schools
There you
in order
go.
for you to get to a particular level of information. So
Right.
it would be like people that don't know anything of a code, they'll just jump into spiritual alchemy or narcissism off the back and then say, I don't
Right.
understand. Can you speak to
Because
that?
yeah, so for me it was fresh off my boat with regards to religion, and actually a little bit before then. Um, my family members were Masons and Eastern Stars, and I think I told you a little bit of the story before.
Mhm.
And so what was open up to me before I even decided I was going to be a part of this was the Masonic Library. My
Wow.
friend and I went to the Masonic Library and we started looking through books, and we found this book, and it was no cover at all to it, no nothing written on the cover, but on the inside
Wow.
of it, it started off as a foreword to a person that's asking for a specific publication. Now this is where we found the additional book to Emerald Tablet. We found additional book. We found literally books to anything that we were had questions in our mind about. When we
Mm.
started reading this stuff, man, it it was like a bridge, literally a bridge. So one thing fell into the other, and it wasn't like no one gave us a key to choose. It
Right,
was
right.
how we begin to study. So if we had a
Mhm.
question about something, when and then we had a guy that came in and brought this book. He said, I want to donate this to the Masonic Library." The book had no title, but it had an in-depth understanding, which I believe it was, and my friend would believe the same thing. This was a spinoff from Dead Sea Scroll because it had some very specific. It had the Hebrew, and then it had the Hebrew, the language in Hebrew. It had another language next to which we didn't understand. We didn't know what it was, and then it had the English version,
Mhm.
and it broke down the who Thomas was in the Book of Thomas, why it broke down why they left him out of the why they only mention him very very little in the published Bible. It also broke down who it broke down this, oh God, what is his name? His name is Solomon Spalding. He broke down all of the tribes that were here before anything ever happened, before they came over and colonized. He told us how where the skin was copper for one was a lighter brown skin. This is what they did. This is what they brought. This is how their economy was. It was an in-depth book. It was like a book that re-explained what the world outside of the regular book of Genesis. So, and I hope I didn't. I hope I didn't misunderstand your question. But
No, 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 no. You went where you needed to go with it. You went where
right,
you needed to go with it.
yeah. So it's, man, when I say that there is an education out there that when
Mhm,
it's time, or when a person is ready to read,
mhm.
or to fully understand, again, that higher self will
Right.
put us in a place, and it put us there. At one time, we were thinking symbiotically, and it put us there to fully understand who we were, and it gave me there was a hope and a joy inside of me, because otherwise I'm believing that we ain't nothing. We ain't never been nothing. We ain't never built nothing. That's what the world would have you believe. But we were masters of multiple things, masters of geometry, masters of we wrote the book literally on everything. Mm-hmm. And then another gentleman from Austria told us, "Hey, he said, this is not a thing that white men do." He said, this is what you guys do. You have to understand this is something that you guys do. And he said, I'm gonna bring you something. He brought us this little paper, this little news clipping, and it showed us where we gave them authority to be who they were chose to be. And they made it a secret society. They made it we didn't make it that. It was a life that we lived. We shared this with the world. We loved the world with who we were. And it was from where we were to across. It doesn't matter. We're all one living ball of love that we spread out to everyone. There was no anger. There's no frustration involved in any of this. But it lifted us up, and to the point to where I started looking for rites of passage in these things for my sons, and I got a portion of it, but no one even outside of that could tell me how to do this correctly. So I just didn't attempt to it because I didn't want to damage them if I did it incorrectly. But when it's time, that information is going to be there. And it's either for yourself or for people that are wanting to build something. And we talked a little bit about that before. But yeah, I hope I answered your question in some kind of form.
Yeah, definitely. And the funny story, just to piggyback on what you're saying about when the individual is ready, they're coming to certain information.
Right.
So just like you, how old were you, by the way, when you were studying narcissism?
I was 20. I think I was 26.
Oh, man, you started before me. I was in my 30s when
I was 26. That's when she sent that stuff to me because I just got a divorce. I just got a divorce and I moved to this house that I had just rented, and we went on the phone back and forth for a while. And she's trying to get me to, hey, understand that everybody ain't for you. Maybe you made a bad decision, and then she shook me. She threw that out like, I got to get his brain off of this ignorant stuff. And she threw it out. So about 26 years old, about 26.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was in my 30s by the time I got into narcissism. I started my awakening, my spiritual shift didn't start until I was about 28.
Wow.
It didn't get serious till I was about 33.
Gotcha.
So,
and I can say the same thing. My full practice of it, because I was so shooken by what she sent, and I didn't know how to place it. I read it, but I
don't know what to do with the information.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with it. I was like, okay, what do I do with this? How do I say? Who do I talk to about this other than my aunt? And I really didn't do anything with it. I think I was 31, 32 when I was like, okay, it's time to break out and either be you or continue being the shuffle until something bad happens.
Right.
So yeah, that's I was about maybe 32 when I was like, oh no, can't do this no more.
I got to do something different.
Yeah.
And I started studying narcissism then, and I got into the mysteries, pretty heavy, to where I was getting ready to go purchase the Gnostic Bible.
Okay, gotcha.
So I went to Dr. Solomon, where I sent you.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
I'm inside of Dr. Solomon, and he got the Gnostic Bible in there. So I was like, yo, I'm finna get this right here. Like, it got everything I need. I'm like, I'm good. Yeah. I don't gotta jump around them. I'm just gonna get it from here.
Right.
So he walked up to me. He said, hey, God, why you got that? I said, only one reason: knowledge of oneself. He said, hold on, I'll be right back. So he went. He got the Kabbalah. So he said, I gotta talk to these customers just came in.
Right.
Read this and see what this go along with you got going. Bro, when I read the philosophy on that thing in there, I was like, oh, this going home with me. How much? Right? He was like $10. I said, yo, That got to go.
$10. See, that's what
You know what I mean? And literally,
Mhm.
I lived out of that book for probably about 2 years, 2 to 3
Man,
years straight.
that that is so
Like,
that is so spiritually nourishing. That the Kabbalah is I found it in the middle. It's like between the slots that are of my empty spaces. That's how I felt the Kabbalah fitted for me. It was like these are the slots in between these empty spaces that you're
mhm,
trying to fill, and that happened. That definitely happened to me. I went to California, and my aunt, she when I was going through her library, she had duplicates of 3 books. I took that one. I took the Testament of Solomon, and
mhm.
I took the Circle Seven Quran. She also had the Circle
Separate
Seven Quran.
center?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's what those are the ones that when I read that Kabbalah, I was laying down and I would call myself reading to fall asleep. Oh no,
Oh no.
that wasn't gonna happen.
Oh
Not
no.
at all.
Not with
Not
that
at all.
separate center. Oh no.
There you
Oh
go.
no. Ain't no sleep. You can't do no
Nothing.
sleeping on that one. So yeah.
No, no,
And
no. But yeah.
so I that was, yeah, it
Mhm.
fit hand in hand. And some of those higher things, it does
Mhm.
give you a higher state of understanding of what
Right.
consciousness is.
Yeah.
And I think most people have a more trendy, when it comes to higher mind and higher self or consciousness now.
Right.
It's more trendy. So,
Exactly.
yourself and mine, you're talking about over 15 years of work that you worked on yourself to
Right.
understand who you are right now.
There you
And
go.
then you got other people, they want to take shortcuts and get there quick.
That's it. And I
I
mean,
like, bro,
yeah,
like, you know how
that's
many
not
weekends I
possible.
gave up? You
Right.
know how many early mornings I got up, and when I ain't had no job, this is all I did. Like,
That's
y'all,
it. That's
this
it.
was
That's
all, this
it.
was my life.
That's
You know what I
it.
mean?
That's it. That's it.
My life.
You find yourself in
So
what you call that dungeon, and it's a remaking of yourself. You're being remade.
now, saying that, because we going from
Mm-hmm.
spiritual shifts, we went into higher self. Now I
Mm-hmm.
want to get into personal reality
Reality and
versus truth.
okay, gotcha. Woo!
Yeah, let, let's step on some toes a little bit.
So for me, it's this is the line for me. Either you are speaking to manifest the truth
Mm.
or you're lying to yourself.
Woo, woo. Say that one more
Lying
time.
to
One more
yourself.
time. For the people in the back. See, this case they ain't hear you.
either
Mm,
you're speaking and you're speaking into your life to that is the truth, or
mhm.
you're lying to yourself.
Woo.
And how I determined that was you can say literally anything you want to say, but if there's
Mm,
no intent behind it, and
right.
there's no you're not planning based on it, then you're standing still and you're just
Mm,
talking. That's all you're doing. There's no truth involved. There's nothing to manifest because you haven't put anything there to make the manifestation happen. So my personal reality with regards to the things that are around me it's what I see. My truth, my truth
mm,
is this is what I spoke last night. This is what I'm this is the direction our life is going to move into. This is the this is the this is the state this is my spiritual state of being. This is exactly where it is, and that's the truth. It's am I aligned or am I not aligned? Yes, I'm aligned. How did I align myself? My
mm.
chakras are aligned. I meditated. I know the mudras. I mean,
Mm.
it's you can, like you said earlier, you can toy with this all you want to and make you look like you know something, but unless you get down to the nitty gritty, I can't recognize who a person like me is. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference between a personal reality versus the truth. And for me, it has to be true because my awakening, when my full awakening happened, I got into a car accident and the lower part of my back was just destroyed. And this is my first time meditating. I'm sitting there and I think, what was it? 425 hertz. And it was a chakra meditation. So I started off sitting, but I couldn't bear the pain because it was my back. So I got on my knees and I was on the couch like this and still trying to meditate. I was in this state. And when I looked to the left, I saw a face looking directly at me, and I could not turn away. And it was like he was telling me to sit, wait. And he kept saying, sit and wait. And I felt these hands on my back. And this is while I'm meditating. So it's putting me in a position so I can sit back up and I can get back in my mudra and line myself up. Otherwise, my back wouldn't allow me to. You see what I'm saying? So that's the truth. That's my truth. I can say, I can talk about it and pretend like, hey, yeah, I've meditated before. This is what I did and all the rest of the stuff. There's evidence to truth, right?
Right.
There is a personal reality is debatable because you're saying you did it, but unless I see evidence that you actually did it, I can't call it the truth. And it's okay to have a personal reality. That's your life, and that's what you choose to do. But unless it's something that you can't, unless it's something that you can actually prove. The way we communicate with each other. I've met you. I don't know how long ago we met, but I know it hasn't been a year. But the things that we talk about, the things that are aha moments for us, because we've been there before, we've done it before. That is a truth for me. That's evidence. Like you're talking about this book about reversing and all the rest of the stuff. The evidence that you had already done it was there. Because it was said again. So that's your truth. You see what I'm saying? Instead of just saying, hey, this is my personal reality and this is what I think and this is what I like because I read this, that, and the other. There's a depth to everything. And the depth always exposes the truth for what it is. You see what I'm saying? So that's for me, that's the difference between
I couldn't say anything better than that. I don't think I can add anything to that right there. The only thing that I would say to that for me on my side is truth is always going to reveal itself.
There you go.
And for me, love was truth revealed. That became my reality.
There we go. Wow.
Love revealed the truth.
Wow.
And my reality changed. It's like those spiritual shifts we talked about earlier.
That's it. Right.
So it was love that came in that gave me the truth. Right. And that my shift came, my higher self came, my reality changed.
Wow.
Everything changed because of love.
That's what's up.
So my personal reality versus truth, I know a lot of people are caught up in their systematic, dogmatic ways.
There you go.
And so they have a difficult time dealing with the truth, quote unquote, or even accepting it. Some people can't even address the truth.
No, they can't.
Not even believe in it.
They can't address it.
Can we address the big bear in the room?
There you go. Exactly, but they can't. You're right.
Yeah,
they cannot. Right. Oh, man, that's powerful. That's powerful. Love has been the truth for me, bro. Like for real, man.
Love used to be the very thing that used to be. It kept me captive in fear.
And for me,
I was always afraid of love.
Right.
And it wasn't until I actually found love that I understood truth. Because then I was able to actually see me where I was at that particular time and knew that some changes had to be done.
Right.
But it wasn't until I actually accept love because I was so afraid for so long. You know, as you talked about earlier, going to things that you ain't never seen before, and then now you hit with all these emotions and questions, and your mind running ragged because you believe in one thing, and now you hear this new thing. Like, what the hell do I do?
Exactly. Right. And that whole thing for me with regards to love is it was twisted throughout my childhood and up until and
Hell yeah.
until my early 30s. Well, I want to say 31, 32. It was, I couldn't understand why. I mean, you read it, read about it, and they say it was agape love, this type of love and that type, but I could not feel it because it was like I've been duped so many times by people saying that they did. I'd rather you not tell me at all that you love me versus you tell me you love me and it ain't real. And I
Come
find
on
out
with
later on it wasn't real. You know what I'm saying? It's and
yeah.
it's not just a feeling or a word. It's again, for me, it is something in depth. It is not, you don't need to tell me. My wife don't need to tell me she loved me. I don't, she didn't tell me that. I tell her that a lot because that's just how I feel. But she ain't got to
Right.
tell me that. It's the things that she does. It's the correction sometimes, and it's the wagging finger in your face. Yeah. If she didn't love me, she wouldn't tell me something like that. Exactly. She wouldn't come to me completely correct if she didn't love me. And man, you hit it dead on the head. That is huge. That's amazing.
That's look,
Yeah.
that personal reality. And I think for me, what I
Mhm.
witnessed and observed, that people are so caught up in a personal reality
Right.
that they just walk right past the truth.
Right. Exactly.
They don't want nothing to do with change,
No.
with their history, with their culture, with their heritage. They just
No.
have just a personal reality. They just tunnel vision, work. I'm going to the club.
That's
I'm
it.
traveling. And nothing against going to work, traveling, and doing all of those things. I don't have
Right.
anything against any of those.
Right. Right. But there's gonna
What I'm
come a
saying
time.
is some people are
Yeah.
so tunnel vision in just that area, they omit the truth.
Mm. And that's right. And you're right. And they're gonna, and it's either gonna happen. And it always comes as an awakening, though. It does.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Agreed,
and
totally.
and when it happens, it's like, wait a minute, I've been missing out this whole time trying to keep up with what I thought was the reality, and it all actually isn't. Again, my first time meditating was, I was freer than I could scream. I could run the top of Mount Everest after that because I realized the healing just doesn't come from somebody giving me pills or saying that they're going to heal me or laying their hands on me. It's it's it came from inside of me. This is me doing this and bringing and calling it my and knowing it's the truth and
Right.
knowing that this is the evidence of it, because standing up after that, I stood up so fast that I didn't realize my back wasn't hurting no more. You see what I'm saying? It was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
I just stand up that fast? And that's the way it was. And
Feel
it's funny
good.
because sometimes I forget those moments. And
Mm,
I fall back into this whole painful thing because I feel like I'm getting a bit of the wind of what they call reality, and then I have to sit back and then get back into my meditation, or I need to meditate a little longer, or I need to go by the water and stick my feet in the water, or walk on the grass, or just be close to Mother Nature,
right.
and be again. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind, like my wife said.
Already. You already
Yeah,
know.
that's it. But that's the basis. That is the basis, because the mind is the seat of the higher power. That is the
Yeah.
seat. That's where it sits. That's where it sits. And
You know,
everything is, oh man,
that heart is
just
powerful.
wow.
That heart,
That's,
and you know, I'm a piggyback because
uh,
I was watching a podcast today on Black Magic 363.
okay.
Great podcast, and the brother he was talking about the reincarnation of Atlanteans.
Oh wow.
And in that post, he was talking about the heart being a vortex.
Oh, that sounds like Billy Carson.
Yeah, and he gave ancient symbols versus this one. So I think you should check
Right.
that out.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not, I really shouldn't be blowing out somebody else's
Sorry
podcast
about
on
that.
mine,
I'm
but it's a
sorry.
great show. I don't really care. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't own
That's
the
it.
information. That's not where it came from. And I'm not
Right.
afraid to share where somebody
Right.
should go get a full presentation
Right.
of someone that has knowledge based upon what it is that's being shared. So
That's
I
it.
don't take that offense. If you offensive on
Yeah.
that I shared somebody else's podcast on this podcast, and you should do something else with your
Yeah.
time.
Right. Definitely. Definitely.
Anywho,
Definitely.
he was talking about the heart being a vortex, and I think that if you get a chance, I'm gonna put that into the inside of the chat later on today,
Please. Yes.
so you can
Definitely.
definitely just check that out, man. Okay,
Okay. Gotcha.
great, great, great.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Now with that, because of all the
Mhm.
things that you and I have talked to,
Mhm.
big time, big time. Now we finna get them. Now we finna put them. We finna put them boots on right now. We finna take them boots out and put these wings
That's
on.
it. That's
We're gonna take.
it.
So talk to me about some of your interaction when it comes to vortexes and dimensions.
Whew, vortex. So vortex for me is I'll put it in this sense, and I explain a lot because that's the whole teacher that's coming out of me. But
Let it come out, brother. Let it come out.
so vortex is I kind of equate it to a whirlwind or a
Okay.
hurricane. The vortex is everything in your life that's spinning around you, or everything you speak that's spinning around you. You're in the eye of the storm, but
Mm,
everything in the vortex is working for you. It's aligning your
okay.
life to how you saying it should align. It doesn't. It's not over quickly. It doesn't yield quickly, but when it does, everything should fall exactly the way you determine it fell because that's something that you feel. It's an in-depth feeling of what it is, of what everything that you determine that's spinning around you.
Mm,
So my experience vortex wise was me sitting during my spiritual time 3 a.m. and I started talking. I got my list and I'm going through my plan and I'm speaking it. And I remember dropping my head back and I feel it spinning. And I felt like honestly I was going to die. And I'm like, okay, if I'm gone, I'm out of here.
right, right.
So, but when I stopped spinning, I seemingly stood up, but
Mm,
it wasn't my physical body. I was a flame,
mm,
literally a flame. And so when I stood up, I saw the same thing around me. Some were spinning, some were done spinning. I saw a person standing up and a sense of what it looked like was water, and another over there which looked like was water, and they were still there in that vortex. Now during the time I had asked what my what my what my element was, what in what picture was my element,
mm.
and that's what the answer was: fire. And so after that was done, and it's like here I go laying back again. I'm still feeling the air and everything around me, and something kept saying, "Speak, continue to speak." I spoke literally everything. I was having some issues with some things. I spoke everything.
Right.
The aftermath of all that had happened in that vortex, I want to say over the next 5 days, began this manifestation piece.
Mm,
And when that happened, there's some things I have to tell you in person, so you'll understand what I mean.
uh-huh.
But after that manifestation happened, and I started wondering, once it starts, you have to continue with it. You can't just stop. Otherwise, when you stop, all the stuff that you begin to speak into existence, it either falls back from you or you have to start it up all over again to see the completion of it. So it began to be an everyday thing. So by the fifth day, this very huge thing that I've been waiting to happen actually happened. And it did. With that, into the segue of the dimension, I had a conversation with my father. My father had been dead. He died in 87. Now, during the whole time that I've been living, he had never came to me and spoke. I would just see his face, and it was just a silence. After this, he literally spoke to me, and he said, "Come." He said, "Come with me." And I'm like, "How am I to come with you? Where are we going?" Before you know it, I was there, and I was on this looked like this shoreline, and it was the most beautiful place I'd ever seen in my existence.
Yeah.
And I continued to go back and forth there, but he wasn't the only family member that had done this to me. So it was sometimes I would go up, sometimes I would lean back, and sometimes I would go side to side. But I was being pulled in all these directions and pulled into where they were. And those are the dimensions. But this is what I asked for when I'm sitting and speaking these things into existence, or watching the things that I say in this vortex all around me. And you have to feel it. You got to feel it. It just can't just be you saying it. You have to feel it. You have to believe it. It has to be second nature. It has to be, this is what I said and this is what's going to happen. Nothing in your lifetime can make you deviate what you're saying. Otherwise, you don't believe it in the first place. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's been my experience. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing, saying definitely.
Yeah,
Continue.
yeah. So that's the basis. And again, when we meet in person, there's some couple of things I have to tell you so you'll understand what I'm saying.
No, we can't see everything on YouTube. We can't see everything out here.
Gotcha. So, but
we have somebody knocking on our door before they're supposed to be knocking on our door. Hold on, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Wait a minute, Cole.
Can't have that at all. Period. But that's my understanding of vortex and dimensions. And dimension gets a lot more intense.
Oh yeah. I mean, we can talk about multi-dimensional. I mean, we live in a multi-dimensional universe. First of all,
we do definitely. And
that's first of all.
The places I've been dimension-wise,
definitely.
Man, it's messing around with the Testament of Solomon. Boy, that one. Solomon had some pretty powerful stuff going on, man. He had some pretty powerful stuff. And when you do it,
I probably need to get some of that from you.
I'll shoot that over to you. Definitely.
Right.
I will.
Okay.
And majority of what I do spiritually is on that same basis. Yeah. But when I tell you, you'll see when I see the documentation.
Yeah. We're gonna talk off camera. We had to talk.
There you go. There you go. But there are worlds. When I tell you there are worlds, not just from my ancestors, but there are worlds. When I started talking about Akashic records and every place that I talked about finding them in, I was there, literally. Mm-hmm. I remember being in this place where all the trees were knocked over. And when I was talking about my ancestors that had died in the earth, and my ancestors that fell out of that fell from a plane in the sky, or died in the water, or were burned asunder. And when I talked about the ones that were in the earth, I was at this place where all the trees were knocked down, and someone had said, "The blood of your ancestors is crying from the ground," and it kept saying that over and over again. And so this is me working through generational curses and all the rest of this stuff. So I've been through some serious dimensions. I've been through some places where spiritual nexuses were very clear to me that I needed to go to in order to partake of the power of that, because it was an ancestral thing. I remember seeing my grandmother, my dad's mother, who's full Native American, and she was talking about shamanism and some other things to me. But it's just the places that I've gone, the places I've been taken to, the places I've been invited to. That's what I equate to dimensions.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, vortexes, they are like tunnel portals
Right.
that take you from back and forth.
Oh, gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's almost like entering different realms through
Gotcha.
vortex. You know how in Guardians of the Galaxy they got jump points.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, jump
So
points.
that's
Gotcha.
that's what vortexes and portals for me. They're jump
Right.
points.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
So I can
Okay.
I can step into a portal
Ah,
and
right.
consciously go directly. You know what I'm saying? Like, hopping in your macabre, doing your meditation, jumping in there, and you going from one place to the other. So
That's
vortex and portal for me, it was always a jump point to
right.
go from
Right.
one place to another.
So that makes
And
sense.
yeah, and the dimensions, of course, as we just stated earlier, we live on a multi-dimensional plane.
Right.
I don't think I
Right.
really got to go into so much more of that. If you don't
Right.
understand multi-dimension,
Hmm.
would just mean
Hmm.
that there are multiple universes, and they tell you that in Doctor Strange, where
Yep.
the Scarlet Witch
Right.
sat there in
There you go.
meditation,
There you go.
and she traveled through all the dimensions. Well, oh yeah, she was in her mind. She ain't went
Yes.
nowhere.
She haven't went anywhere, but
She ain't went nowhere.
nope, but she
And
went
then she transferred her consciousness into another dimension,
to another
and then
dimension.
started doing things in the dimension by her sitting there in
That's
meditation
it.
in another dimension.
That's it. That's it.
They
That's it.
they telling us right before our face what it
Right.
is.
They want to desensitize it to
Oh
it.
yeah,
So
they
when
want
that
to.
does happen, you can say it's fiction. No, it's not fiction.
Right.
It's
It's just a
reality.
movie. That
There
don't
you
really
go.
happen like that. And when you
Exactly.
get into those sciences and you get into those mysteries and narcissism, you get to find out, hey, there are doorways out here for real.
Wow. But see, what you're saying with regards to the vortex, the rainbow,
Say that again.
the end of rainbows, they say were jump points, and they were saying the
We
same thing. They were saying the same thing about the tip of the of the pyramids, that they were jump points.
jump points and energy system.
Right.
So
Yes.
you had from my understanding in text, you had pyramids that were actually like what do you call them? Plantation. They
Okay.
actually run the energy grid from that particular area.
Oh
So
wow.
then the pyramids will actually, harness the particular energy, and that's how they had their lights and different things of that nature. Because
Right.
they
Gotcha.
had lights and all that back then. They didn't have lamps. There are no soot
Right.
in
Right.
these
Right.
areas.
Right.
So we know
Gotcha.
there wasn't lamps. They was using
Hmm.
what type of lighting? What couldn't be candles, because again, you would have to have soot, fire, plastic,
Right.
wax. Somewhere
Right.
should be found somewhere.
Right.
Anywho,
Right.
back to the
Mm.
dimensions.
So that yeah, that's yeah, okay. That makes sense. But
Mhm.
yeah, because somebody was saying to me that the end of the vortex, the rainbow used to be points, jump points to where
What-
but I can't remember fully, but I have to go dig in my notes to find it because I was
And you
trying to
know that
figure.
the rainbow is also connected to your chakra system. So your jump point at the end of the rainbow is you entering a new realm.
Hmm.
We're talking
Gotcha.
about you becoming new,
Right.
or finding that quote unquote what they said you finding that pot of gold at the
There
end of the
you go.
rainbow,
That's it.
opening your
Okay.
pineal gland.
Got you. Got you. Got you.
We
Wow.
already
Okay.
got gold is already inside of us, and it was so funny. I
Hmm.
was I was using a term when I crap, and I say blessed star black gold,
Hmm.
because that's what I know that we are. We are everybody's a
Yeah,
star.
that's
So
it.
know that you're a blessed star, and
Right.
we are all made of black gold
Black
melanin.
gold. Right. Right. That's right. That's right.
So blessed star
That's
black gold.
that's right.
So
Wow.
it was, and then I heard another gentleman. He spoke about it, and then he was breaking down black gold, and I was like,
Hmm.
damn, I was saying this for years, and like when you talk about earlier, like I've been
Right.
doing things for years, and come to find out, either reading
Man.
it or somebody saying it, go, oh,
Right.
got
There
it.
you go. That's it.
Okay.
that's what it is for me right now, because it's, man, and that makes sense why when I stood up and was a flame, I was in a different dimension. That makes
Oh yeah,
sense. I
definitely.
was I went through the vortex then. And
You
so
was in
there,
your higher self.
wow, 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 wow.
That's a whole dimension itself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow.
When you go into your higher self, these first world problems mean nothing to you.
Nope, not at all.
You're
Not
not
at all.
oblivious to what's going on, but
But
it's
it just
not a
doesn't
heavy
matter.
concern of yours.
Right, 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 right.
And I've traveled to multiple. I first started with astrodynamics. With I think the book is named Astrodynamics by Robert Bruce.
Okay, gotcha.
And I
Very
started
familiar.
with that. And rest in power, Brother Panic. He had what he called a panic pack. So I was
Oh,
like,
the
man,
panic
I'm
passed
gonna get me
away?
some, and so I ordered some panic pack. But
Did
what
he
I
pass
did is I
away?
just panic.
Panic passed away? He died?
Yeah, hold on, brother. You ain't noticed?
No, no, I didn't know that.
I gotta talk to you off the L on this. I gotta talk to you
Yeah,
off
let's
the L on this.
please, yes, because I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I gotta talk to you off the L on this.
And Bobby Human's still he's still with us, ain't it? Is he?
Yeah, he's still here.
Okay, I'm about to say,
Yeah,
man,
I gotta tell
the
you off the L on
panic,
this one.
man.
And
That's the
me and you
epitome of
might have to
alchemy.
fight on this one.
There you
But
go.
anywho, rest in power to Brother Panic, because he was a big influence upon me
Yeah.
in my life.
Right.
And so I was waiting on the panic pack, but I still kept
Mm.
doing the exercises. So I end up being able to astroplane with using nothing. No shrooms,
Mm.
no weed,
Mm.
no nothing. Just the
Mm.
technique. After I learned the techniques and then I finally got the panic pack and I add some flour with it,
Mm.
I was everywhere in the world. And I
Mm.
still remember the very first time I was taken to the heavens, I was laying on my back on the floor. And the reason how I know I was taken up, because I had tears that rolled this way on my head. Now, we all know when tears go, it go this way when
They
you lay
run
on
to
the floor.
the side, or yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. That's it.
But
That's
if
it.
you laying on the floor, it's coming this way.
It's,
You on the
yeah,
floor.
it's coming.
Yeah.
That's right.
These suckers came this way.
Wow.
So
wow.
when they
So
were taking me through the heavens, my head was laying over their arm. So that's how they carried me like this, like I was a little child.
Right.
So
right.
I've been in and out of the heavens for a long time. I just didn't really understand what was going on until I educated myself properly.
Now that I've been
And then
doing.
once I started taking in theogens and I started shrooming, game was over.
And see, that I've been doing since I was like 13 or 14 years old. We and that only because we hadn't, I was in a really, our household was very stressed and a lot of stuff was going on. Again, that's another personal conversation. A lot of stuff was happening. So that was me checking out. I would check out and I would be asleep for hours and into the evening. So when I wake up, my mom would be like, "Where's you sleeping for so long? You on drugs? Blah blah blah." No, and I really wouldn't tell her because my mom was a heavy discipline. That's very disciplinary, so we really couldn't talk. She asked you questions. That's rhetorical. She already know the answer, but it's so. But that I've been doing that traveling that way since I was like 14, and that was my great escape, man. And it was it. That's why I asked you about Nibiru the other time.
Yeah.
So when I first went, that's where I went, and I said the star, and I said in myself the star, and I said we're getting closer to it. We're getting closer to it. Is it gonna burn me? Nibiru. And I was like, Nibiru. I thought it was something made up, like it was something I watched on TV or a cartoon that I watched for years ago. But man, I've been doing it for years.
The ability to travel, I think people take that lightly or as a fantasy, or that just happening in your mind, or you don't. That ain't real out there. It might not be real to you, but that's
it's
my
real
truth.
to me. There you go. That's my truth, 100%. Exactly.
It might not incorporate in your personal reality,
exactly,
but that's my truth. All day.
Exactly. Right.
And just to speak on that, not until I started doing heavy meditation is that my mother came to me.
Oh wow. Right.
And when my mother came to me, she came to me and I said, "Who are you?" So I'm not gonna say her name on here.
Right.
But because it's only a family name that can be said by family members.
Right, gotcha.
So I'm not gonna say it out loud here.
Mm-hmm.
But so she told me a name and I said, "Well, you don't even look like you. So how I know this you?" She said, "I haven't been in a human body since 1976. I said, "Okay, well, that kind of you may have a point. You may have a point.
You might have a point there. Yeah,
you may have a point why you don't look like my mama, but you my mama.
That's it.
So,
oh man,
it was something, man. And she said some very specific things with me, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So it's dealing with dimensions and traveling, and I've been to planes to where my brother at, my grandma, my uncles, I go kick it with the family,
That's it. And I said the same thing. It's
like y'all go to like you go to a cookout. I'm going to the outer realms.
There you go. That's how I spend my weekends. That's it. For real. That's
you going out tonight. I am going out tonight. You're actually like, I'm going to go in. Matter of fact, I'm not going to go out. I'm going to. So could you talk about, because we're talking about vortex and dimensions, and we talked about worlds earlier. Could you speak on about understanding worlds and worlds within?
The best way to describe this is when we talk about heaven and how they describe heaven in that book. There's a play. My uncle passed away, and when automatically the conversation with me and my cousin was like, I wonder if he went to heaven or to hell. And I was like, why would you ask that question? It makes no sense. There was a place that he was at, and he called to me before I actually took the time to sit back and do this. And so when I sat back finally and I lit my candles, and this is the quickest I'd ever gone out. And so when I did go out, I saw what looked like the inside of the Grand Canyon. I saw darkness there, and I saw this light, and he was like behind me. He said, "Yeah." He said, "It always gets it always gets dark this time of day." And I was like, "Okay, so where are we at?" And he was like, "This is the world that I live in." And I'm like, "The world you live in?" And so it baffled me because my dad's world was something different. My great grandmother's world was something different. My baby sister's world was something different. And it was something that, and I come to fully understand that the world that they're in is the world that they created, or they were creating before they passed. They went on, or this is the world that they were comfortable in, and that's the way he explained it. So my dad's world was that way as well. But we'd always only go to this area to where we're looking over the water. That was his favorite spot in the world that he was in, and he was all by himself. He didn't want anybody else to be there with him. And so when you talk about I think the book says, "I go to prepare a place for you wherever I go. Where if I'm there, you'll be there as well." But it's not necessarily that way. It is a world that they create. When my mother passed, my mom was completely going through quite a bit mentally. And when she came to me, I was expecting her to bring me to a place where what she created, but it was in the stages of infancy. So she needed help to focus on building what was her world, or what it looked like. So I started trying to read about it and understand what was happening. And
Right.
then I've stumbled onto this thing to where the Oriental people or the people from from Asia, they would bury their people with everything, with gold, money, and all the rest of stuff to prepare them for this afterlife. So they have enough to build their afterlife or their world in the afterlife. So it's for me, it's similar to that. It's like, do you have what you need to build? Do you have the wherewithal to begin to build what your world looks like? And some
Mm.
people are so put off because in their mind, like for her, she was so put off because in her mind, she was supposed to ascend directly to heaven, and that was it. Well, that wasn't the plan. So if you're playing with something different, like my dad's playing with something different, my grandmother's place looked like a cave. That's what it looked like. But that was her world.
Right.
And the that was her favorite place, she said, was the sweat lodge, where she went and her great grandmother went, and all the people in her family and her downline were there, and this is the world that they were in. She weren't by themselves, but it's that's how that's my experience when it comes
Mhm.
to what they say their world is, or the world outside of here. Um, and it's nothing like this place at all, period. Why would anybody want to come back? I didn't want to come back visiting my dad. I was like, can I just stay here with you?
You
I just
know,
want to be here where you're where you're at. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah. I mean, those moments are definitely wonderful. You
Hmm.
know, there's a level of consciousness
Right.
that you have to have enough discipline. You have to have, even though when you experience these high levels and you experience these places that are so tranquil and divine, you must
Right.
keep your mind intact to where you understand where you are and
There
that
you
you can
go.
move back and forth and you don't lose yourself. It's
Right.
almost being like in that movie Inception where you
There you
go
go.
under so
That's it.
long,
Yeah.
you just kind of
You-
lose it. You know what I'm
That's it.
saying?
That's it. That's it. I agree.
So with
Wow.
that, I want to just say, can we get some closing remarks? Anything you want to leave the family with today?
Man, if you haven't started, if you haven't started, my thing is this world that where we're at now is based on is based on you having an experience. It's not something that you're going to be latched to for the rest of eternity. Try it. Try it one time. Try to meditate. Try to meditate, and you'll never know what's going to happen. You never know how you how your spirit receives it. I'll just say that.
Right.
Um, but your reality versus your truth. Look, nobody knows the truth about you better than you.
That's it.
Make it the way you want it, and make and that is your truth. And that's it. I'll say that.
You know, I just want to say in closing remarks, when you're on this journey, your life is going to change if you are honest and pure, and your intention is for change.
Yeah.
If your intention is not for change and you're doing it for some type of social mass, you're
Right.
doing it as a trendy thing, you're doing it to fit in, your results will not be
No.
as you desire them to be.
No.
As you're dealing with your higher self, honor and have reverence for that moment of interaction. And
Hmm.
don't take those things like teach your children. If you don't know how to have an interaction with your higher self, again, get with some people who do,
Yeah.
watch some things who do, take some
Hmm.
courses, get and find inside of a community and
Hmm.
learn with inside that community.
Yeah.
And if you're ready for vortexes and portals, hop in, jump in your macabre, get yourself some shrooms,
That's it.
get some good get some good tea and some herbs, and
There
make
you
your little concoction and sit down and meditate.
go. Mm,
Meditation has been the thing that has revealed so much in my life.
mm,
You know, I learned meditation by understanding nothing. So it
mm,
would be a losing of self where you would not attach anything to
No.
this world, it would just be that moment in breath, just that now. That's why I say, and all that I am, now is all that there is.
Now is all there is. Gotcha.
So with that, I'm gonna say, let love reveal as power heal, and we're gonna talk and crack.
Correct.
Peace, power, and prosperity.
Peace.